First off, to all the people that said they wanted this, thank you for justifying the autistic deep dive. In the 3 weeks between reading all of these documents and then making this video, this clip appears to sum up what this paperwork actually is.
All right, let's start from the beginning. This white paper is a visionary blueprint for Australia's defence.
Let's start at the end. It's an impenetrable, uncosted fence-sitting wish list.
Now that the less sweary version of the thick of it is over, the UK defence posture has been a hot topic ever since Russia's 160-day special military operation, and it is culminated in lots of paperwork but little change. This was supposed to be addressed last year with the 2025 Strategic Defence Review, but in 2026 the government has begun to re-wage its war of bureaucracy with the 2026 Defence Investment Plan. The two papers are linked. The SDR shows where British defence is lacking, and the DIP goes through explaining how to patch the holes or justifying why they can't. This saga has led to the resignation of 2 cabinet ministers, was more damaging to the former Prime Minister than deploying a suspected nonce, and in truth, most people have no idea what it actually says. I am hopefully here to remedy this. Hopefully, but probably not. We will start with a 150-page strategic defence review first because we need to know how broken we are before we can begin to fix things. It starts with the only parts of the paper written by politicians, so they can be generally ignored. Starmer witters on about a redistribution of so-called defence dividend across the whole country. It's boilerplate political nonsense. I take it he doesn't see the irony in wasting everybody's time and energy to achieve a political goal, whilst the army remains so ineffective. Following the former Prime Minister's words is the former Secretary of State, as he lays out what is in the report, and judging by the news coverage, this is where many last year stopped reading. It's politics heavy, and uses words like lethality a lot, and justifies the argument that the UK Armed Forces acts as nothing more than a working class jobs programme. But there we are. On to the bit written by people that matter. The 3 reviewers have spent 11 months prior to publication to interview thousands of people and compile 65 recommendations that the government have accepted to implement, but to sum it all up with one quote from the SDI, it is this. Our vision is that, by 2035, the UK defence will be a leading tech-enabled defence power, an integrated force that deters, fights and wins through constant innovation at a wartime pace. It is nice to know that the former stance of the military was something other than deterring, fighting and winning wars. To very quickly sum up the whole of the 150-page paper, it lays out 3 key areas for change within the UK defence space. The first is termed a NATO-first strategy for the defence of Europe and the North Atlantic. What this entails is the UK first becoming a self-sufficient and then to take a primary or leading role in the collective defence in Europe against what the UK clearly sees as its primary threat, Russia. The mechanism for achieving this will be covered later as the paper goes on to cover the branch changes that should be implemented, so we'll get to that soon. The second is transitioning from a peacetime to a wartime military and refocusing from counter-terror and peacekeeping operations towards a near-peer conflict in Eastern Europe. This is a holistic change in culture, not confined just to the military but taking in wider society as a whole and preparing it for wartime governance. The last of the major points is a general plan to modernise the military. A large-scale investment in AI and drone warfare takes up a significant portion of the paper, but also changes to the command structure with a new military strategic headquarters alongside modernisation of the Ministry of Defence. Most notably for the SDR, it suggests changes to the procurement structure with the appointment of a National Armaments Director to head up a new procurement arm that will operate alongside defence equipment and support. For the Navy, they have gone all in on attack subs in a plan called Atlantic Bastion, the Surface Navy. As for the attack subs, it argues the continuation of the Trident programme, of course it does, but it also lays out the idea that the UK should put more resources into the AUKUS programme, building up to 12 boats to recover the lost subsurface capabilities from the Cold War. As for the surface fleet, placing a high emphasis on a high-low approach with integration of drone vessels and aircraft. This was done in pursuit of stopping Russia's grain zone efforts in the North Atlantic and Arctic seas. For the Army, this is outlined in an increase in personnel to a target minimum of 100,000 people, with a 3-to-1 split of active duty to reserve. To augment this somewhat limited personnel number, the paper also advocates for the same high-low approach in the Army. How this would actually manifest is that 20% of the Army would be made up of humans, 40% made up of reusable clankers, and a 40% of it being made up by consumable clankers. So with the 100,000 men, you'll have 200,000 droids, 200,000 drones. Then there's the RAF and its business as usual. They put forward that the RAF needs to focus on air defence and investment into patrol aircraft. Fucking shock. It comes across that the RAF have the right equipment, but not nearly enough of it. There are no direct plans to build some revolutionary wonder weapon, but to procure more systems than it currently has, in all categories. This obviously mostly coming from an expansion of GCAP. There is one admission, and as I've only skimmed over the DIP at this point, it may be in there, but the UK currently has no ground-based long-range air defence system like SAMP-T or Patriot, which to me seems like an oversight. And yes, that is an RAF issue. Then there's the branch that everybody forgets exists, Space and Cyber Command. It's more of the same, although just investment at this point, not reinvestment. They need to actually build out their capabilities so they can exist outside of the framework of cooperation with the United States. This is a brief overview. Currently, I've put up screenshots of all 65 recommendations that have been outlined. They are helpfully put into these orange boxes to make it easier for people to reading the paper to skip over all of the explanations. But if you want to pause and read through them all, you can. There is also a link to the SDR in the description. Now onto the Defence Investment Plan, and as said earlier, the government has already accepted the recommendations of the SDR, and now they've had a year to formulate a plan to actually do them. So how did that go? Again, leaving the political fallout from this to one side, people need to remember these papers are in principle written by civil servants, so all individuals involved are experts in one field or another. When the policy documents fall short, which in this case it arguably does, this is normally because the Treasury is trying to split the existing revenue it has, as politicians are unwilling to spend more or are unprepared to tax and cut. I will also know that you knew this was bad, as Keir Starmer, who has gone from the current to the former Prime Minister during the creation of this video, has neglected to attach his name to it, which did not inspire confidence. I will also note that Andy Burnham has not commented on it either. Looking at the forward by the Secretary of State, a different one, of course, it is in the same style as the SDR. We were left a mess, we need to fix it, it will cost a lot. The usual political messaging that we have come to expect. We will again ignore the politics. It's not that important, but with that caveat out of the way, what does it actually say? We're going to spend more money. A lot more money, but maybe not enough. The three principal methods set out in order to achieve the recommendations of the SDR to integrate with European allies, an expansion of the nuclear deterrent, and investments into men and material in order to boost morale and lethality. We will cover them in order. So what does deepening strategic ties really mean to someone that doesn't talk in exclusively buzzwords? The first of 6 plans for each of the strategic regions that the UK wants to focus on. With an exception of Europe, they all say the UK is going to maintain its current footing in each of the regions, but using modern technology it plans to become more effective. And as for Europe, or the Europe Atlantic as it insists on stating, it is going to keep the pledge of the Hague Summit and increase defence spending to 3% of GDP by 2035. As for more concrete plans, it lays out the joint programmes the UK is operating, whether it be the Global Combat Air Programme to build a 6th-generation aircraft with Italy, Japan and Germany, the AUKUS boats, or the Precision Strike Weapon. The plan that is outlined that seems to get the least amount of attention is the joint procurement with Norway to build 13 anti-submarine frigates into the North Sea to counter Russia grey zone activity. The expansion of the nuclear deterrent means retaining the programme of building the Dreadnought-class subs. This is somewhat obvious to anyone in the UK, as cancelling them is likely to get you thrown out of office. Not something you want to do on week 4. It also includes a recommitment to the domestic programmes to refurb the current Mark IV warheads with the Estrella programme at some point in the 2030s. The Greek goddess of justice, by the way. The standout of the nuclear policy is to procure F-35A fighters from the Americans and either buy or build a low-yield tactical nuclear warhead, for some reason. Personally, I'm in favour of a one-stop, kill-them-all nuclear retaliation policy, and I think this will make the situation with nukes more, not less complicated, but that is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with it in the comments. Last up is a domestic programme to refine nuclear fuels for sea-based reactors, as opposed to buying it from the French, but that is the gist of the nuclear policy. The lethality, investment and modernisation of the military is the last major topic, and I'm going to break it into 4 parts, and those are AI, drones, material and morale. AI is the most speculative. There are a significant number of buzzwords, and I think all of this is to distract from one phrase: targeting web. The UK is going to use AI to improve target acquisition under the name of Project Asgard. With 1.8 billion in funding backing this up, and a further 5.5 billion in basic digital improvements, it would appear the UK is going to try to shore up a shortfall in recruitment with programs aimed to remove some humans from the targeting loop. All of this headed up by a task force called RAID, the Rapid AI Deployment, and it is likely to morph into its own department of the Ministry of Defence, so it would appear the government is going all in on AI. Next up is drones, and they've grabbed most of the headlines by scrapping the Type 32 and 86 vessels in favour of a hybrid navy, where a drone command vessel would take their place. This comes in the form of the Common Combat Vessel, which will look after Type 91 through 94 uncrewed vessels. Naval drones come up a lot, as they also cover commitments to seabed drones and uncrewed mine clearance for ships are also outlined. The whole no more destroyers end of the Royal Navy saga is a little bit overblown. It's just the name that's different. The idea behind the programme is that there will only be 3 to 4 manned vessels in a carrier strike group, augmented by 5 to 6 drone ones. Or the CCVs would operate alone with only drones accompanying them. They are in effect new destroyers. Whether the Royal Navy is ahead of the curve on this one and is about to re-dreadnought all foreign navies isn't something we can predict, but it is an interesting new direction. Then there are drones for the army, and to sum it up, it is copy Ukraine for more money. One-way attack drones, deep reconnaissance drones under Project Corvus, and unmanned ground support vehicles are the order of the day. There is also the NYX program to develop an uncrewed support vehicle for the AH-64 Apache, similar but not identical to the drone Littleberg companions from 2006. Yes, that was 20 years ago. Then there's the RAF, the air-launched drone swarm, and drone companions to the Global Air Combat Air Program, but I think that covers all of the drones. Next up is materiel. Just to clarify, this means the procurement of new equipment, and it is almost too long to list in any way that's vaguely interesting. Other than the previously mentioned drones, ships, and nuclear weapons, the largest line items for procurement is 12 AUKUS-class subs, along with the procurement of Type 26 frigates for the Navy. The Army is spending about 1 billion across the board on everything, and the RAF's GCAP programme coming in at 8.6 billion, with a host of other ancillary outlays. Then there's spending on Cyber and Space Command covered under AI, and 3 billion being spent on space-based assets. The full tables have been scrolling by, so feel free to pause and read them if you want. The last segment is morale, aimed at making people want to join the military, re-enlist, or talk fondly about their time being a veteran. Probably a good strategy. Making people's lives better in order to get them to help you is a pretty good way of achieving a goal, but this is broken into 2, active and veteran services. The active consists of fixing the most popular gripes that personnel have. Base housing takes centre stage in the report, but pay, food, and skills training come up a lot. Then there's the veteran side, to tackle integration into Civvy Street, veteran homelessness, and healthcare, both mental and physical. This has obviously been a short breakdown of the SDI and the DIP. Obviously I could have gone into more detail, and depending on how this video does, I'll break down some aspects at a later date. But, as there always is a but, sat on a page all by itself is this paragraph, described as notes to the Defence Investment Plan. It is a catch-all, this doesn't matter, get out of scrutiny disclaimer, proof that you should read all government publications in reverse. Taking any part of this as gospel might be a mistake, hence why the video is short as it is, and as British governments over the last 30 years have proven, defence has never really been a priority, and all claims to the contrary turn out to be lies. Though, given the circumstance, let's hope it doesn't this time.